In this video, I'll be revealing one of the easy ways you can get started in real estate with very little capital. I'm talking between 5 to 50 million naira. As I believe you should know that real estate is a highly capital intensive business, and I showed this in the last video that I did. This like a sequel to that video, where I showed some of the opportunities you can take advantage of. Most especially, the focus was on joint ventures, right? However, I got a lot of feedback from people that the figures I was calling in that video are ridiculous. Billions. I'm talking about billions of naira, and a lot of people were asking me if there are no opportunities for people with smaller capital. There is, but it's difficult. Real estate is a very capital intensive business, especially in Nigeria now with our high cost of inflation. It's very difficult to do a lot with little money. However, I will share one of the methods a couple of developers have actually used to start. So this is something you can use to start, get your foot in the door, and then hopefully as you expand the business, you can now go into bigger things. So let me start from where I stopped in the last video, and that is joint venture. So let's analyze joint venture in regards, little capital, right? So most of the deals I analyzed in the last video were in highbrow areas, Ikate, Victoria Island, Osapa, London, right? But it's not possible to do these things in cheaper areas like Aja, Songo Tedo, Ibeju-Lekki. The truth of the matter is that it is, but these are the challenges, right? It costs almost the same thing to build a house in Banana Island that it will cost you to build that same house in Ibeju-Lekki. Yes, for the house in Banana Island, luxury and whatnot, you can go out of the way, unlike what you do in Ibeju-Lekki. But on the average, it will cost you almost the same. It's the same cost of iron rods, same cost of sand on average. Do you understand me? But in Banana Island, you can charge 5 times more than what you will charge, even 10 times more than what you will charge for the same project in Ibeju-Lekki. For example, Sujimoto has a 4-bedroom maisonette in Banana Island selling for, I think, $2.5 million. I don't know what you can build, even if it's a mansion you build in Ibeju-Lekki. I don't think anybody is going to pay you $2.5 million for that property, right? But there are people that will be willing to pay millions of dollars to stay in Banana Island. So that is the challenge. So developers will want to look at areas where they are able to get back their funds faster, right? So it's not like it's not possible to do it in these cheaper areas, but you are more likely to get customers because you have more demand in these highbrow areas than you have in these, upcoming and developing areas. Is that clear? Then the second part of the problem is the cost of construction. See, inflation is crazy now. Currently, I don't think you can build a bungalow with less than 35 million naira. For you to build a standard 3 or 4 bedroom bungalow, you should be looking at 30 to 35 million naira. And that is without the cost of land. By the time you add the cost of land, you're looking at something that will cost you, let's say the land is very cheap, 5 to 10 million naira. So you're looking at something you will sell for what, 50 million naira. Is that an affordable project? So if I'm still going to be charging 50 million, 60 million naira to build a property, why not I just go to, let's say, Orchid or Ikota and build terraces there and still charge that same 60, 70 million naira? In as much as those places are more expensive, but do you get my point? And also, if you now want to do joint ventures in these very cheap areas, so let's say the land costs, let's say in Ajah you can get a plot of land for 120 million naira, right? Now, on that plot of land, you put 2 semi-detached duplexes there. It's going to cost you around 90 million naira to build those semi-detached duplexes. How much are you going to sell them? How are you going to have that sharing ratio with the landowner? Let me give you a real case study. So I have this joint venture somebody brought to me in Ajah, right? The land cost 120 million naira, and on that land you can fit 7 to 8 terraces. But let's use 7 terraces. Now, it's going to cost us about 350 million, 300 million to build those 7 terraces, right? And like I explained in the last video, joint venture is done according to your equity. So the landowner's equity is the value of his land, and then the developer's equity is the cost of the construction. Now, the landowner's equity in this deal is 120 million naira, and as the developer, we are bringing 300 million naira. So we are all in 420. If you do the ratio, it means that the value of the owner's equity in that deal is 30%, while the developer's equity is 70%, right? I hope you're with me. Now, how do you share 7 terrace duplexes 30-70? What that simply means is that the landowner is going to get just 2 terraces and the developer is going to get 5 terraces. And you see how this looks like a bad deal for the landowner, because if you're presenting this to the landowner, you're saying, "Oh, when we are done, we are building 7 houses on your land, but we're only going to give you 2." It sounds like a bad deal, but if you do the math, you see that it checks out. So this is something that causes a lot of, will I say, disagreement between developers and landowners in all these up and coming areas. Although the landowner is still going to make his money, because in that location, those 2 terraces each goes for about 120, let's say 100 to 130 million, right? So let's even say 100 million. So if he sells, the landowner is going to get 200 million in about 12 to 14 months. He's going to get 200 million, and his value of his land is 120. So that's about a 40-50% return in that time frame, right? But overall, it looks like a bad deal. The developer is going to get the bigger share of the cake because the value of the land is small. However, in these highbrow developed areas, you see that the value of the land is large, and it kind of like keeps up with the value of what the developer is bringing to the deal, and it makes it a better deal. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, you can still look into it if you're interested. Like a deal somebody sent to me recently in Songotedo. Sometime this week, I'll go and look at it, analyze it, and see if it makes sense, right? So there are still, I believe there are still opportunities, but these are the challenges, and this is why most developers, if you're doing joint venture deals, they like to do it in places that are very developed, like I mentioned, because people are willing to pay more for those locations, and then it's because of the value of the land, they are able to deal better with the landowners. So how exactly can you now partake in this thing? How exactly can you now come in if you don't have 500 million, 1 billion? Somebody sent this, commented this in one of my posts, and it was hilarious. So how can somebody with a smaller budget, 5 million to 50 million, how can they play? To the best of my knowledge, the cheapest way you can come in is through land. Most of the developers, if you mention 10 developers, about 8 of them started with this technique. This was how they entered the market. I don't want to call it land banking, because land banking is what the people who are going to buy from you will be doing, right? That is the service, or that is the product you're going to sell to them. So what you will do as a developer or somebody who wants to start in the real estate space is this. You will go to the original land-owning families, right? Now, let's say for a start, you don't have a lot of money. You have a deal of 5 acres with them. So you want to buy 5 acres from these land-owning families to resell and then make a profit to give them their share, right? Now, usually, this happens in developing areas, outskirts. I'm talking about Ekpe, Ikorodu, Badagry, or, outside Lagos. But if it's Lagos, it's these 3 locations. But you can also do it. I know a lot of people that do it outside Lagos, in Asaba, Imo State, I think Ibadan. Yeah, there are a lot of people doing that in Ibadan now. So this is how it is. So you go to these original land-owning families and start with, let's say you want to do 5 acres. Now, the value of their land, let's say 500, or let's use 1 million per plot so that the math is easier, right? So they are selling their land 1 million per plot. 5 acres is what? About 30 plots. So you have to pay them 30 million naira. However, you don't need to pay them that money upfront. Usually there's a payment plan, right? So sometimes they will give you between 3 to 12 months to pay them the balance. So you will pay them, you drop a deposit with them. Now that deposit can vary. For this 30 million naira deal, you can do a deposit of 5 to 10 million naira, right? So if you have 5 million naira, you can negotiate with them, give them that deposit of 5 million naira, get a contract of sale from them, right? And then with that contract of sale, you now go out and start to market that land. So you buy it from the families for 1 million naira, and then you go and sell it for 3 million naira, right? Now, 1 million naira from that 3 million goes back to the family. You've paid them. 1 million comes to you as your profit, and then 1 million now goes into the estate for development, right? There's more to this, so this is just like the rough idea of how it's done, right? And it's not like it's a smooth sailing business, I'll be honest with you, especially now for Lagos. That business model it's almost impossible to do that in Lagos now, right? Because Lagos State now has rapidly developed. The families now are wiser. They now have more stringent conditions. Lagos State government's eyes is open. They are all over the place, making it more difficult for this deal to go through, right? But you can still try it in other states. Now, so aside from the challenge from the family, that some of them, can be very dubious. They'll try to cheat you. They try to play you around. If you've dealt with land, you understand what I'm talking about. And then you have the problem from the government. And that problem you can also have is your marketing, right? So if you don't have, you're not very solid with sales and marketing, it can also hamper this business, because you will not be able to meet up with your payment plan with the family. So now you pay them 5 million naira, you have a balance of 25 million naira. But for 3 to 6 months, you're not able to sell even 2 plots, right? So how do you meet up with your payment? A lot of developers have lost their land or lost their deals because of stuff like this. Now, there's also a nuance to how to market it. There are marketing agencies you can partner with that help you push this. So these are the other parts to it, right? But I just wanted to give you a general idea of how this thing, is done. Okay, I didn't want to mention any developers, but I just remember the developer that has talked about it publicly, and that is Wale Ayilara, the CEO of Landway. Listen to this.
But we didn't start developing homes like this. We started selling land, and I started with nothing. So I started with nothing, basically nothing. So I don't need to own the property, so I just need to help you market what you're selling. I struck a deal with a particular guy that has this land somewhere in Ibeju back then that I wanted to sell. So I said, okay, I can help you sell this land. Give me 50 plots out of this property that I can help you sell. But I visited this property one day. This guy wasn't the owner of the land, but he had a deal with some families that they will help them do some documents, and then they will give him part of the plot. I addressed them that I'm just a young guy trying to sort myself out, and I've been selling part of the land. So they gave me for 50% of the amount he was giving me. It was a good deal. Wow. So I paid them instantly because I started making some sales, and that was how it started.
So, like I said, it's difficult in Lagos currently. In Lagos now, there's now a new method to do it. You have NTDA. Probably I'll make another video narrating that if you want to do it in Lagos, but it's not as cheap as what I just described with this family, because now you're going to be dealing with the Lagos state government, right? But you can still give it a try in Ibadan. Ibadan now is currently hot, so if you're from there, there are a lot of people, Yoruba people who want to diversify from Lagos state. I believe other people in Nigeria, other Nigerians who want to diversify from Lagos state. So there's a market there. A lot of developers are there. You can also try Ogun State. You can try even in Asaba and some parts of the southeast. You can Enugu, yes, I know some people do it in Enugu too. So you can try it outside Lagos and then use it and build your financing. You build your funds, you get enough a lot of funds, and then come out. This is what a lot of developers do. They go. If you read the history, I don't want to mention it, but if you read the history of most of the developers, you see that most of them started in Abijo, Ibeju-Lekki, Awoyaya, Ekpe. Then, as they successfully executed this business, they now brought the funds and now started building, the developed areas. So I hope you got value from this. If you have more questions, you can send them to me. If it's something that needs more explanation, I'll make another video like this to explain. Cheers.